Our show sponsor, Gazelle.com, helps make things possible for us. Next time that you are looking for a new but slightly used device, it is factory certified at Gazelle.com. Think of us and use our link. It helps the show. Gazelle.com. They have used but certified devices from cell phones, tablets, and even computers and accessories. You can even trade in an old device that you have just laying around. Go to Gazelle.com to get started using our link up at the top. Hey guys, Rodney Conner here, Tech Insanity, with another phone review from AT&T. This time, this beautiful new creature from Samsung, the Galaxy S7. Sorry, I know I'm having a hard time since I can't see my screen and everything that I'm recording right now. I'm pretty much guessing at what you can see, and crossing my fingers I got the focus issue fixed, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, first things first, you'll probably see me do this 3 or 4 times through the video. If I did have any dislikes about the S7, it is, boy, it sure gets fingerprinted and dusty real quick and easy. But, you know, if that's all there is to complain about, then it's not a bad phone. Alright, so I went through and did some benchmarks and other things here at the end. We'll talk about those here in a minute. But first, let's just take a look on the outside of the phone. Just to take a look and see, you know, when you get it out of the box, which I hope you're lucky enough to be able to do so, just so you'll know what to be looking for. Alright, so here's for an up-close and personal look at the Samsung Galaxy S7. Of course, here's the front. This is a 5.1-inch Super AMOLED Quad HD display. So quad meaning you can play up to 4K video. You got your 5-megapixel front-facing camera, your earpiece for phone calls. The home button here, turn the phone on and off, has also got the fingerprint reader built in. There's your 2 buttons there that every Android phone has. I should tell you that if you double tap the home button, even from the locked menu, unless you disable it, you can access your camera. That's a quick tap, I think is what they call it there. On the right side, you've got your sleep wake button. Same thing, it just turns it on and off. On the base of the phone, you've got your speaker there. Samsung, I know, tries hard, but you know, with 0.31 inches to work with here, you only have so much space to squeeze a good camera in. There's the microphone for, you know, the other people to hear you, micro USB charging port, and then the typical audio headphone jack. On this side, we've got the up and down volume keys. On the top, you've got the SIM card slash micro SD card tray. Let's see if I can zoom out a little here. And then here's a picture of it here. You can see it's really tiny and really, in my personal opinion, it was very difficult to keep everything in that tiny little tray and slide it in very carefully, but I got it done. So, and then you've got another hole up here. I assume this is supposed to be part of the HD audio, so that, you know, you hear audio from all angles. It helps cancel out the external audio. Okay, so then that takes us to the end of this, which is the back, which is, in my opinion, the best part. Got that 12 megapixel dual pixel lens with the LED flash. That is the Samsung Galaxy S7 on the outside. Okay, so now that we've looked at what is on the outside of this beautiful little creature, let's look at what's on the inside, or talk about it. We really can't look at it, but anyway, so AT&T 4G LTE, that's pretty much a standard nowadays. Android 6.0, which is Marshmallow, the latest version of Android. Snapdragon 820 processor. This is a quad-core processor inside this thing, and when I did some of the benchmarks, I was entirely impressed, let me tell you. It did get pretty warm. I had my handy-dandy little $5 eBay version of a thermometer. Had it just sitting underneath it, and it got a little warm, but we'll talk about that here in a minute as well. 2 cores. Okay, remember I mentioned 4 cores, right? Quad core. 2 cores are at 2.15 gigahertz, and then there's 2 cores at 1.6 gigahertz. That is all backed behind 4 gigabytes of RAM. Internal storage is a standard 32 gigabytes. Now there is, again, on that slot up there, there is you can add up to 200 gigabytes worth of one micro SD card, up to 200 gigabytes. That's a good chunk compared to what some of the old phones. I think this is the first phone that went above 64 gigabytes. So we're really moving up finally. I think now there's up to 512 gigabytes of flash storage. I think is pretty much where we maxed out. If I remember right, please correct me. I'm sure I got it wrong somehow. All right, so moving back to the phone. This is all powered by a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. That'll give you approximately 28 hours talk time. I do apologize. I didn't exactly have 28 straight hours to talk, but I will tell you that in the week that I've had it, I only had to charge it once, which is pretty standard. I have used it. I've played with it. I've benchmarked the heck out of it. So the battery did take a pretty good torture test as well. It's rated at 12 days of standby time, but that is with this always on screen, which we will talk about here shortly as well. Now, as for the rear camera, it's a 12 megapixel dual pixel camera. Very impressive. Gives you an ability to see things that most other cameras don't. It kind of gives a three-dimensional effect. An example, taking a picture of a sunset. Typically, when you take the picture, the sun just becomes the big focus. Whereas with the dual pixel abilities, you see the sun in the sunset and then the clouds behind it, right, wrapped around the sun, for example. It has a super fast, really fast, way above industry standards as far as smartphones, super fast autofocus. Pro mode is one of my favorites. That is an ability that this guy has here. Sorry, I'm trying to dodge the microphone here and it's distracting me. Pro mode, you can adjust the aperture, ISO, all kinds of features that really you just would have to be a pro. Just kidding. Anything you would expect on DSLR camera, very expensive camera, you can do right here on this device. Very cool. The Galaxy S7, I can't stress enough, is by far one of, actually no, it is, and this hurts a little bit. I have a iPhone 6s in my pocket here, and really, if I was not as much of an iPhone user and a little more of an Android user, this would be my phone. I hands down, well, hands up, really. But anyway, hands down, this would be my choice phone if I were to ever switch to Android. When you record video, that is a whole nother story, but we're going to go ahead and squeeze it all into one. Recording video at Ultra HD, or essentially 4K, you get 30 frames per second. At Full HD, or 1080 resolution, you get 60 frames per second, and it goes all the way up to 240 frames per second when you drop down to typical HD or standard HD, so down to 720 resolution. The front-facing camera, not nearly as impressive, but still very nice for a phone of this design. Samsung really tops. They really top the cake. They really do. 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Has a selfie-taking mode. It uses the screen for a flash-esque type thing. I don't know how to explain it very well, but it uses selfie mode is what it is, and it uses the screen to develop to put a brightness out so that you can get that perfect duck face selfie. The screen is 5.1 inches in diameter. It weighs just 5.36 ounces. Very light, super slick though. It's easy. I almost lost it right there and tossed it into my screen. It's very easy if you don't have a good grip. So you definitely want to have a good case because it's so slick and so beautiful that it's so easy to drop. Some additional things that really stand out to me is I mentioned it a few minutes ago, is the always on screen. The screen there is a feature that Samsung put in here called the always on screen. Pretty self-explanatory, right? What you do is you can choose anything you want to be on here. You can actually have stocks on there, a calendar, weather, what's that thing? Clock. I couldn't think of what it was called. Anything like that you could have on there as an always on. It really doesn't have much impact at all on the battery, or else I assume Samsung wouldn't put it in there. Now that does come in to be a factor. It is by default I do believe it is off. Now, when I got this phone, it was on, but I don't think this phone was factory reset. Now, that value can really drastically change your standby time if the screen is not always on. However, if it can sit there on for 12 days straight, that's not bad. Some key features, NFC, near field communication, Android Pay, Samsung Pay, all the standard stuff. The other key features, this is water resistant, just like other past Samsung phones that I've reviewed. It is resistant up to 1.5 meters in depth for 30 minutes. It is supposed to resist all intake of water up to that long. Now, the speaker does take a little pooey for a few days, but once it dries out, the speaker is just like any other smartphone. It sounds good, but it's definitely not anything super impressive like you can feel the beat basing out of your hands by any means. But it is still definitely impressive. Wireless charging, fast charging are both an option with this phone. The wireless charger can be purchased through Samsung as well as the fast charger. It charges nearly twice as fast from what I understand. The charger that came with the device is just the typical charger, so I really couldn't test that ability out. The Direct TV, I wouldn't call it integration, but it's definitely embedded into the phone as far as what Samsung sent. Direct TV, you have the ability, there's an app that's already on here for you to use it as your device as a remote control for your Direct TV system. You can also remotely stream any of your programming from Direct TV. Now, some of the benchmarks that I had from this device, two key ones that I wanted to mention. Let me grab my notepad here. Two key ones that I wanted to mention. PC Mark. Now, this number is a little low because the device was really hot by now. I did something stupid, and I did two benchmarks back to back. The PC Mark number was 6334. That is low. 6,334. That is low compared to the industry standards and the other averages that people have gotten from the S7. However, it is still way up above most of the competition. The reason being is it was hot. It was, I believe I recorded it, it was almost 90 degrees, and that is just with a little contact. This is actually an ambient air sensor, so this is still a little off anyway, and all it was just sitting under the phone. The phone was registering at around 91 degrees externally on the back of the phone when it came up with that number. 3D Mark was really, really good looking. 1,316. Again, it was a little skewed because the phone, it did get warm very quick, but it performed very well too. Here's a video to show you just the basics of what was going on during the benchmark. And lastly, a new benchmark app that I just started using called Velamo. Vellamo. It actually, I believe, from what I understand, is developed by Qualcomm, which is the developer of the Snapdragon 820 processor. And this baby, it topped the charts. The closest competitor was the Galaxy S5, if I remember right, and it was over 300, almost 300 points under what this one scored here. So, all in all, the Galaxy S7. Of course, you were expecting it to be a great review, and it was. I loved every bit of this week with this phone. I wish I could keep it more. Next time, AT&T, please send me one a little longer. But sadly, just because it's so new, they want it back quicker, so I didn't get as much time to really test it out. I used 7 different apps. 7. I used 7 different apps as benchmarking, and I only managed to get 3 of them done. Just because of time constraints and other things going on. So, with that said, I better wake up my computer for one. With that said, I definitely would buy this, and I recommend you do as well. I apologize. This review probably seemed very, what would be the good word here? All over the place, basically. This is the first review. I'm getting back into the swing of things, messing with some camera angles and some microphone angles and some other things, trying to get this back into being just a constant thing for me, and so I apologize. It's a little bit hectic. The second thing is, apologize, I did not get any video demos during this entire week. I felt like I lived in Seattle. It's been gloomy, cloudy, rainy, and snowy in April. So I didn't feel it was worth it or worthy of the device. Let's see. I didn't feel like it was very nice or anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. I didn't feel like it would get the right effect out of it if I tried to do a video comparison like I usually like to do with the S7, just because of the outside conditions. Inside, it's always this nasty incandescent look, so I just didn't do any video. I did do a few photo comparisons. One of them was my stepdaughter's birthday cake. So, well, show you those, and well, I guess that's pretty much it for this one. I can't wait for the next review. Please support me. Go to Gazelle.com if you have any devices sitting around. Sell them. Gazelle also has devices you can buy. They're used. They're certified. I have one sitting there. It's an iPad mini. My girlfriend has an iPad Air 2, I believe. iPad Air something. It's either the original or the 2. Either way, she's got one. My grandmother's got one. I buy only devices from Gazelle.com, and I think you should too. It helps out the channel. Until next time, Tech Insanity. Have a good one.